we have been selected by Ethereum Foundation, and we have spent like quite a lot of time on like tuning the solution, because like we are running like 100,000 validators on Holešky testnet, and we are trying to push the boundaries like what's possible. Everybody can run that like from basically in the end from the home. It reduces the barrier to entry, and also like it's more secure, because like no party is like the key. Your effectiveness can be like up to 100%. Like the system itself, it's like one of the like best decentralized app I have seen.
Welcome to the Bare Metal Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bare Metal Podcast. I'm Ship the Code from Rockaway X, and today I have here Tomas, our very own Tomas from Rockaway Infra. Welcome.
Hello, guys.
So, Tomas, give us an introduction to the infra part of Rockaway X. How'd you guys get started?
Yeah, basically we have started in like 2020, like when Solana was launching. My former colleague Dusan basically started running the Solana validator at like in a small computer, and like he found like it's pretty interesting and like we should like work on that more. So I was hired, and now we basically like develop our solution into like two free independent data centers. We own our own hardware, and like everything is operated by our own like team. So basically we have like low third-party dependencies, which is like pretty great and in aligned like with the narrative of crypto. It should be decentralized.
Did you guys start bare metal, or did you begin in the cloud and then slowly bought your own servers?
To be honest, like I was thinking about like running in cloud in the beginning. And then like when I found out like it doesn't make any sense, so basically like everything we have been running is bare metal only, like in our own private racking data center.
How do you pick the data centers? You mentioned you're running on 3 DCs. So first of all, why 3, and how did you pick them?
Why 3? It's easy, like running from one data center, like you have like no way to like solve the issue when something goes wrong. 2 sound good, but like still then will have like a split brain problem. So that's the reason why we have like 3. And the way how we like think about like data centers, it's almost about like availability. So like we are looking at like how much like lines of electricity are going to the data center, the connectivity, and like also like a track record. So for example, like our main data center hasn't had like a power outage in like 25 years, which is great.
I guess availability, you're looking at redundancies to sort of support high availability expectation. Do you also look at security?
Exactly, like security is also like paramount for us, because if you are like running cloud and storing your like private key somewhere, you have like no idea like who can like access the server, especially like on those like validators running in Hetzner. Like any technician can go there and like plug in like a USB stick into the server. So basically what we are looking also like for is the process how you can access the server. So basically like the data center, you need to have like a chip card. Also, like it scans your eyes, and also like for the like fingertip scan. So it's
fingerprint scanner. Okay, so biometric identification for anybody who has access to the DC. So you mentioned cryptographic material, private keys. How do you guys store the keys? Do you rely on some sharding, or do you guys use hardware modules? How does this work?
Yeah, it really depends on the network we are operating. So like for Cosmos networks, we are using like UBHSM, so storing like on HSM. For Ethereum, we deploy like a threshold signature using like Dirk from Attestant, and that's like great software like for in terms of like security and also reliability, because you have like 2 out of 3 needed to sign the block, which is great.
I think that one of the major positive effects of being bare metal and owning your own hardware is you can experiment a lot. So how much time do you spend experimenting with novel solutions and sort of testing, what would be the best way to run nodes versus actually spending your time on operating the nodes?
Yeah, basically like we have been selected by Ethereum Foundation as like a Genesis validator on Holešky, and we have spent like quite a lot of time on like the tuning the solution, because like we are running like 100,000 validators on Holešky testnet, and we are trying to push the boundaries like what's possible. And like what we have end up is basically running all that 100,000 validators out of like one beacon node and having like efficiency rate more than 90% from just one beacon node. And it's not like a heavy machine like you would imagine like something like Solana needs, but it's like basically off-shell 6-core Xeon E2386G and like 64 gigs of RAM, and it's running. And that's thanks to like Nethermain and Prism teams, which have made tremendous job to optimize that.
So have you tested like different variants of the consensus and the execution clients and landed on Nethermind Prism, or
We have been testing like both like a Geth and Lighthouse combination and like Nethermain and Prism. And to be honest, like with the default setup, I know like on Geth you can test like different like backends, but like for us from the default setup, Nethermain is by far like the most efficient like solution.
That's pretty interesting. So how many validators are there total on Holeshki? I don't know.
1.4 million roughly. So we have like basically about 7% of the network.
So right, 7% of the network is running on this one machine. So
Yeah.
Lucky us, it's a test net.
Yeah, like it was just like a test for 2 days. Now we are like obviously on our like multiple machines, but like I was like so surprised like it's working. So we are like doing many of these tests like to push the hardware to the boundaries, because like we also can see like the consumption on power and all the details, and we can like tweak the BIOSes. So like that's good if you have like access to the physical hardware.
Yeah, and I guess performance testing is an integral part. So I'm not knocking running 100K validators on a single node. It's important to understand, what the requirements are, so that one doesn't influence decentralization negatively, right? I mean, if you have high requirements, then obviously not everybody can run a node, and then the whole story becomes sort of less, more centralized, and less people can do that. So that sounds pretty cool in terms of experimentation and operation. How long is Holeshki expected to run? Do you have any idea?
It should be like 5 years, so it's like the next long-running testnet, and like Gerli will be sunsetting like end of this year. So it's like the next testnet, which is like proof of stake, like compared to like Sepolia, which is like proof of authority.
Okay, so devs are going to be running on your infra pretty soon. That's good to know. It's safe and sound in the DCs.
Yeah, and also like I don't know if you know that like the name Holeshki of the network is basically because of like one of the like Prague waters, where like parallel police where like Ethereum people are like meeting together. So like we thought like
I heard about that. The Czech Ethereum community lives in Holešovice, so the testnet was called Holeshki for that. Yeah, thanks for that, Ethereum guys. That's nice. There's the hot thing, or the recent technical evolution in terms of validating Ethereum was DVT, distributed validator tech. Are you guys experimenting with that? What's going on with DVT? What's your opinion?
Like for the DVT, we are basically like working with like both like major providers like SSV and Obol. We have been like testing both solutions, and also like helping Lido to onboard like the new wave of like smaller operators to those DVT solutions. And to be honest, like I really like the way how you can like spread the risk with DVT. So like it will basically like opens Ethereum validation to like, let's say, less enterprise providers, which cannot like achieve like such a great uptime like as we do, because like nobody can not many people can have like a free physical like racks in different data centers. But like with DVT you basically like overcome this obstacle, and like everybody can run that like from basically in the end from the home, because like if you have like enough redundancy, you don't have to have like such a huge uptime for all the nodes, which is great.
So you're saying DVT as a piece of tech that will get more uptake in the next sort of year?
Yeah,
it will become more mainstream.
It's really like, I think it can become more mainstream, but it's also like much more expensive, because like if you're like using like one operator, you will just pay for like one hardware, like one organization. With DVT, you have to pay for like basically like for least for operators.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's sort of like a trade-off there, where to have the redundancy, you have to pay for more hardware, and unless the hardware is significantly cheaper, it's gonna come out to be more expensive. But I guess more people can participate. I don't know. So it's an interesting piece of tech. I'm wondering if it's gonna find use in the market. I wonder like what's the point of it? If it's to get more people to validate, like I can see how that could work. If it wants, if the idea is to make validation more efficient, it feels like that's a step in the opposite direction.
I think
it
it's
definitely
like
reduces barrier to entry, right?
It reduces the barrier to entry, and also like it's more secure because like no party has like the key, like it's spread out like through all like four nodes. So it's definitely like much more secure, and also is in terms of efficiency, because if you are like basically running out of 4 different locations, also like the effectiveness rate will be higher, because like you can have like your nodes in like multiple locations, and like you are sending the block for more locations, so like your effectiveness can be like up to 100%, and like that's one of the results we got like from testing the SSV on with Lido, with like 13 validator cluster, and like it was, to be honest, pain in the ass to set it up, because like you have 13 different parties and they have to agree. But when it's running, we were like the top performing like the cluster, because like from with 13 of them, like basically you cannot miss an attestation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're sending packets from multiple locations into the Ethereum network and propagating them faster on your private sort of links, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting. So helping Lido test out DVT sounds like a pretty interesting, another pretty interesting project. And you guys also became part of Lido recently, right?
Yeah, we have been like onboarded on Wave 5 with like other 7 or like 6 with other six operators, and we have been selecting basically from like 117 applicants for this wave. So we are like honored to be there.
Wave 5 was pretty competitive, so kudos to you guys for getting picked. So how much ETH do you have now?
Basically, it's like 336 validators, so something about like now 1,000.
So around 10,330 times 32, around 10,000 ETH.
Yeah.
What's the maximum? Where's the ETH going to grow to?
Like you mean like number of validators?
Yeah. Well, okay. So what's the total number of validators you guys are going to run at peak?
At peak, like it really depends of the inflow like to Lido, but like the most validators are like right now capped at like 10,000, and like it's like super smart like how the system is like made, because like for example like Lido is like one of the protocols which also have like the way how to like unstake from the validators, and the way how it's done is basically like it's prioritizing the unstaking from the oldest nodes, oldest operators which have basically like made the most money out of it. So like it's getting from the guys which are like from the beginning, and it's prioritizing onboarding of the new stake to the new members.
So it's sort of balancing profits for the validators, balancing revenue.
Balancing revenue, and also like the spreading of the tokens like between those two validators to stay like as decentralized as possible.
Yeah, Lido was a lot in the news recently. I was following on some of the podcasts like Bankless, etc. There's a lot of talk about reaching a 33% limit and what that could mean for the network, etc. So I'm curious, like, what's your as an operator? And there was a lot of discussion on the podcast, like, what is the role of Lido? What can it force the operators to do? What's the role of the operators? And I heard Hasu talk about how operators participate in governance and participating in active policy construction. So I'm wondering, like, what do you see as an operator from the inside? What do you think about the solution in general? First of all, so you as a part of Lido now, you have their you have the ejector, daemon active. Like you sort of understand the relationship from inside. So what do you feel your position is relative to Lido as a node op?
Like my position, like basically they are like giving me stake, and I need to provide great service. and basically that's it. Like they are like not pushing me like to how like should I run my node. It's basically like up to me, and like the system itself, it's like one of the like best decentralized app I have seen. Basically right now you can run everything like on your like server at home, because like everything is stored on chain. There's basically like no backend data which are like stored on Lido server. So like yeah, obviously like the onboarding like portal is currently running on like Lido servers, but like they are open sourcing the software. So basically you can like spin it up at your and on your website and like get all the data from chain. And also like the ejector itself, it's reading the data from the smart contract. There's like no behind the scenes like actions, and like
And the
I
ejector,
really like
just to clarify for people who might not know that, I also mentioned this without defining it. The ejector daemon is the piece of code that asks that emits exit messages for validators when Lido is asking, Lido has an unstaking queue and it's requiring some validators to unstake. Is that correct?
yeah, there's basically like a on-chain oracle, and like the ejector is reading like from the Ethereum execution node the messages. Hey, you should like unstake yourself, and basically I have like prepared exit messages, so I just sign them and it's going out. Like it's not mandatory for me to like unstake. They cannot basically like force me, and like this is also going to change with like the new EIP 7702, which will be basically like solving this solution. So like they will have the signaling like message like to unstake the node. But like if I don't like do what they tell me, basically they are like having all the rewards are coming to the Lido smart contract, which is then distributing that to me like as a validator. So like
they can essentially, what you're saying, what Lido can do, they can't forcibly unstake, but if you don't follow the protocol, they're able to withhold the rewards as some type of penalty for you. But that's the extent of the effect. Otherwise, Lido governance has to make a decision on various. Do you, as an operator, do you automatically hold LDO tokens and are part of governance, or is that not the case?
You don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. It's like not necessary to do.
It's not part of the job.
But like, yeah, you should like you should be holding some LDO tokens for the governance, so you can basically like can vote if like you don't like something. Basically, anybody can like vote if it's like against something, and it's pretty transparent because like all the voting is on chain.
Are you guys active on the forums? Are you scanning sort of Lido proposals and what's going on in the DAO?
Yeah, like I wouldn't say like I'm the loudest guy in the room, but like still like looking at it, and like there was the like recent like issue with like the one of the operators like getting slashed, and there were like some comments from the community like to prolongate the like probation time, and I was like commenting on it because like I don't think like the longer time makes any sense. It's really up to the people and their like setup how they are like doing that.
Right. Makes sense. So what's your expectation are you expecting to hold your current sort of being part of the operator set in Lido, or like is there some expansion of operations that you're thinking about in the future? Like would you run a DVT sort of validators for Lido, or is that something that you guys are just testing out?
Yeah, we are basically like testing out and helping other validators to basically join, like because like for the newcomers to the ecosystem, it's pretty hard like to understand all the concepts. I know it like when we were like starting with Ethereum and like also with the DVT, it's like a little bit different. So like we will be basically helping other node operators to get started, and also like participating in the DVT, like for the cluster you can have basically like a mix of someone like which is like a small validator, and like then have like a professional validator like us. So it's a like nice mix.
Yeah, I think getting more node operators to Lido is close to the number one priority at this point, right? Making sure there are more validators online, more operators to service that liquid staking. Anyway, yeah, this is pretty interesting. So what else is happening? There's a lot of buzz around in the ZK world. What are you guys doing around ZK? Or what do you think is the role of today's validators in the ZK world?
Yeah, for me, like I'm seeing like a ZK as like next big opportunity for like validators, because like I think for ZK, obviously you can run it like someone say it's basically the same as like a proof of work on like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but I don't think it's basically the same, because like on Bitcoin it doesn't matter like if you can like mine or not. So basically like most of the like operators are like doing it as cheaply as possible. But I think like for the ZK that's not the case, because like if you do not prove, that might be like a issue for the network. So like basically what we are working on is preparing, like I call it like ZK data center concept, which is basically preparing the whole set of like tooling, hardware, software, to be like prepared for the like proving going to the market. And like there will be like some, definitely I think like some proving markets, and be ready as an operator for it.
I'm really curious if it turns out that ZK proving is going to be a lot like mining. So in my mind, sort of like a simplified mental model, the crypto world started with mining, where it was competitive in hardware more and then more and more effort was lost, essentially, or maybe not lost, but used up in mining the same amount of blocks, right? So that's where you see this increasing hash rate on Bitcoin. So it's actually more and more effort to secure the network. Then we went to proof of stake, right, to reduce all these hardware requirements, and instead of the work, we now have stake. And now we're going back to proofs, where, if you think about it from very far, it's like you just need to be able to execute the proofs, right? So there's a fixed amount of proofs that's going to let's say in terms of blockchain validation, or based on the use case. You don't have to like, at first sight, you don't have to like grow your hardware requirements. You could just sort of run with your existing hardware and be able to handle all the proofs. But if the proof markets become more competitive, won't you get into the same race as you got to in mining, where you're going to have to be faster and cheaper than the next guy so that you can supply the proofs? Do you feel like it's going to be the same dynamic in a few years?
That's like a great question. Like, to be honest, I don't know. I think like there can be like both outcomes. Like what I'm hearing like from the community, like it might like end up like with something like proof of governance. So basically like they will be like selected operators which can do it like pretty in an efficient and like secure way. Like basically like social consensus, these are the good actors. And the second way, and like many networks will be having that, basically like Alio, it will be like the same race as like it was in Bitcoin. And basically we are
provers free for all. Yeah. Anybody can join, and if you can be cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
So basically, what steps are you guys doing to sort of like prepare for this world? How are you testing out this ZK DC concept? Like, what's part of the data center, if you think about it from a mental perspective?
Yeah. So we need to be prepared for like both outcomes. So like for the outcome where it will be like free for all, we are basically preparing like our infrastructure to have like 6,000 GPUs end of this year ready to run. And we are also working with Ingoniama and testing basically their like Icicle SDK to be like as efficient as possible, to be prepared like when things lift off.
So I know what GPUs are, but can you tell me what Icicle does?
Basically, Icicle is like a SDK, which is like working with the GPU and like optimizing the algorithms there, and like making it as efficient as possible. And like what we are doing like with Ingoniama is also like testing how to basically like overclock or underclock the GPU to have like a best performance per watt, which is like super interesting and like needed, because like the electricity in the end, if you're like operating like us from like Central Europe, it's like still pretty expensive thing, and it will be like the biggest like part of the expenses.
So you guys are already thinking about energy management and versus performance.
Yeah, energy management versus performance, and also like running like the provers from like a tier 3 data center like we are running like our validators is also like pretty expensive, and like I don't think it's needed. But like on the other hand, you cannot run it like from a shed like those Bitcoin miners, so you need to like find something like in the middle ground
next to the goats, like in the so what sort of loads are you testing on Icicle? Are you like validating something, or are you running some standard proofs, or what's
basically we are as of now we are like testing Alio with Ingoniama. We are like testing Alio prover like with the performance, and like the results will come like soon. So stay tuned.
So you're testing the Icicle optimized Allo prover to see like what's the efficiency, and and there'll be some results that are going to be published at some point.
Yeah.
So when do you think the prover markets are going to sort of open? Is there any timeline for Alio coming online or anybody else basically providing demand? I know that Mina protocol is running. Obviously, I don't know how much demand for proofs that creates, but I'm guessing it's one proof per block. Not sure to validate the block. I don't know if there's separate proofs for transactions, but looking at these timelines, when do you think sort of more like serious demand for ZK provers is going to come online?
I think like it won't be definitely this year, but like Q1, Q2 next year, I think it will start off. Like right now, like I'm on the Solana conference in Amsterdam, and also like these guys are talking about like generating ZK proof for Solana. So like I think it's getting together, and like it will start like with like Nil Foundation and like other protocols building the prover like marketplace.
Yeah, you guys seem to be ready for that future.
Yeah. Like I think like
that's
we are trying to be like as prepared as possible, because like I think like it will be huge, and it doesn't have to be like just only for like a crypto and like blockchain scaling, but like ZK will have like a practical usage for everyone, also like outside crypto, like for the homomorphic encryption for AI and like this stuff. It's not for crypto only.
Yeah, FHE is another huge domain that I think we've never discussed on this podcast, is fully homomorphic encryption. In some ways, maybe somewhat related to ZK, but that's, I think, something we can open another day. So anyway, thanks very much for being on, Tomas. It was a fun chat.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Then see you here next time.
See you. Bye.